What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, everybody? What's up? What's up? What's up? Hope everyone's having a good week. I wanted to jump on today to speak on a few topics. First of all, we just got news. It's actually official now. Luke Campbell is going to be fighting King Rye December 5th, I believe, on DAZN. Okay, so it's official. We pretty much knew that they were working on a fight and it's going to happen, but once it's official, that's all we need to hear, you know. So I'm really happy to hear that. I mean, it's a very, very good fight. December 5th. Deuce, what's up, man? December 5th. And I'm happy to hear the news. It's a good fight. But I'll speak more on that later in this video. All right. So this weekend, we have some boxing, not a lot of boxing going on this weekend. We have an ESPN card. What's up, Arlette? What's going on? We have an ESPN card going on this weekend, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have Emmanuel Navarrete against Ruben Villa. Okay. It's a pretty solid card, nothing crazy. This is Navarrete's first fight as he moves up from 122 to 126. I believe he was the, let me check this out, WBO. I think he was the WBO champion at 122 before moving up. And this will be his first fight. And this is going to be his second division fighting at a title or fighting for a title at a new division. All right. Let's see. I'm trying to pull this up. I thought I had it pulled up, but I don't. But anyway, it's a pretty good fight. Make sure you check. It should be a good fight. Villa is a pretty good fighter. You know, I did check some of his stuff out before I watched this video, and he actually beat Shakur Stevenson in the amateurs. So he's a pretty good opponent. He's probably a better boxer, but he's not a puncher. Okay, but he's a pretty skilled, crafty boxer. He's definitely the more technical between the two of them. Navarrete is pretty aggressive. He's going to be coming forward, doing a lot of punches. He is the puncher between the two. He has 31 wins, something like 27 knockouts, something like that. One loss, but lost like early in his career. So be sure to check that out. It should be a really, really good fight. I see Navarrete getting the stoppage at some point, but later, maybe like 9th, 10th, 11th round, like somewhere down the line, I see him getting a stoppage because I think Villa just doesn't have the power to keep Navarrete off, even though Navarrete is the one that's moving up in weight. He was pretty big guy at 122. So I see Navarrete just at some point, I think the pressure is just going to be too much for Villa. And I think he's going to win the fight. All right. But it should be a very competitive fight. I think Navarrete is pretty slow starting off. So I think that Villa is going to be doing well in the earlier rounds. But at some point, after like 2-3 rounds, Navarrete is going to start opening up. He's going to start moving forward. And I think he's going to stop Villa at the later rounds. Now, what I do like about Navarrete moving up is that I like the opposition up at 126. Okay. I think those are some guys, like if he were to unify, because he didn't get to unify while he was at 122. So while he's at 126, I would like to see him, you know, try to unify with a Josh Warrington or Gary Russell Jr. That would be great. I would really, really love to see that fight, because the problem with 126, and it's been flooded with guys. A lot of guys from 126 did move up to 130 or 135, like, you know, Lomachenko's up there. Leo Santa Cruz recently moved up. You got, what's his name? Carl Frampton. He moved up to 130. Okay. He's going to probably be getting his Oscar Valdez. All those guys were at 126 at one point. And, you know, it's still, you still got Warrington there. You still got Gary Russell there. But a lot of those guys moved up. And a lot of those guys did not like unify at 126, you know? And hopefully when Navarrete moving up to 126, hopefully we can finally get some kind of unification match at 126. It's personally, I like the division. I like the talent that's there. I've always liked the talent at that division, but I just never really liked the opposition. I mean, the fact that they didn't unify. You know, I like the talent there. They just didn't unify. So give me 1 second. I just want to look this Navarrete's record up real quick because I didn't pull it up before the video started. All right. So look, he's gonna move up to 126, and hopefully we get some unifications. And you know, that's really all I really could say about the division and his move up right now. I know there was some talks about him fighting Inoue and Inoue moving up to 125, 122 to fight Navarrete and stuff like that. And that would have been cool too. But you know, regardless, Navarrete moving up to 126 should be pretty fun. All right. But the fight, check out the fight. Now, to watch the fight, because I did search this, to watch the fight this weekend, you have to tune in at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to watch the full card, but if you just want to watch like just the one fight, it'll be live on ESPN free. So all the pre-fights will be on ESPN Plus. But the main fight will be just on regular ESPN. So you don't have to pay for that or anything. You have to be subscribed. Regular ESPN will be showing the fight. And that will be at 10 p.m. Eastern. So the main fight, 10 p.m. Eastern on regular ESPN TV. And the pre-fights, all of the pre-fights will be on ESPN Plus. You need the subscription for ESPN. I think it's like $4.99 a month. And that starts at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. All right. So make sure you tune into that. Definitely had to do a video on it because we need to support, you know, fights, even the smaller cards, as much as we can. This is a championship fight. This is a title fight. And Navarrete is pretty good. I like him. He's fun to watch. I know last week I did a live video chat with you guys, and someone asked me about Isaac Dobe and whether or not if I thought he was done. And, you know, I didn't know that he actually had a fight in July, okay, against Chris Avalos. And I did watch the fight, and he looked pretty good in the fight, okay? I know we all know that he lost to Navarrete twice, all right? And he was, you know, the second fight, you know, he was stopped pretty bad. And he took a beating for Navarrete. He took a lot. Those two fights took a lot out of Isaac Dobe, who was undefeated at that time. And he looked good. Yo, I seen him fight Chris Avalos, and I know Chris is a guy that he's been, you know, he's taken a lot of losses, but he's been, you know, he fought a lot of good guys, you know. So it's a decent comeback fight, and he was able to stop Chris Avalos late, like in a final round. It was only an 8-round fight, but he looked good. And you know what? Dogbay didn't come out. He didn't do the barking. He didn't come out with a large crowd. You know, from what I was hearing in the commentary, he changed trainers, and he's no longer training with his pops. And you know what? Sometimes some fighters just have to do that. Like, they have to switch it up. You know, even if you have to separate from your family in order to do that. I like what I saw in that fight against Chris Avalos. He didn't look like a washed up fighter to me. Okay. And he was definitely working behind the jab and not just doing power bounce. Like, he was boxing pretty well. And I look forward to seeing him. I think Navarrete, just like you said, Deuce, I just think Dogbay was just too small for him. Okay. I mean, he was able to still hurt Navarrete and give him a good fight, but you know, it was just too much for him. And I think Villa is going to be, I think the same thing is going to happen. I think Navarrete is going to be too much for him. You know, the one thing I question him going up to 126 is whether or not he's still going to have that power going up, because at 122, he was stopping a lot of guys, but he was a lot bigger than the majority of the guys that he was facing, you know? So is that power, the same power, going to carry over up to 126 when he goes up there? I really want to see him fight Gary Russell or Josh Warrington. I think either fight is great. Josh Warrington would be a straight slugfest, in my opinion. If they were to ever scrap, that would be a great fight. Gary would try to outbox him, use that hand speed, those combinations, and try to outbox him from the outside. But Navarrete will try to bring the pressure on him. And I believe that even though Gary will try to box, I think Navarrete would force Gary to go to war with him, So I think either one of those fights, I want to see both of those fights, man. All right. If Navarrete had a head movement and worked on defense a little more, he would be really, really dangerous to anyone. And I agree. Imagine Leo Santa Cruz was still at 126 and we got to see him fight Navarrete. That would be another really, really good fight. But I do see there's still some room for improvement for Navarrete. I think he's only like 25 years old. Let me look it up. Here. I think Navarrete is only 25 years old. Yeah, he is. All right. He'll be 26 in January. So there's still room for improvement. Okay. I know he's won a title already, and I think he's on his way to winning his second title if he is to win this Friday. Oh, did I tell you this? The fight is tomorrow. The weigh-in is today. Tomorrow is the actual fight. It's not Saturday night. It's Friday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern for the prelims and 10 p.m. Eastern for the main fight on ESPN. All right. So anyway, let's move on. I wanted to speak on a few things. Teofimo Lopez, Lomachenko, fight week coming up next week. That fight is going to be on regular ESPN, not a pay-per-view. A pay-per-view that I probably would have paid for if it was a pay-per-view. But we're getting it for free on ESPN, and I think that is a big deal, a big, big, big deal. We recently just got a good pay-per-view card between the Charlo twins. But this would have been a good pay-per-view card if they had, even for the main, we're just talking the main fight. We're not talking about undercards. This is big because more people need to see this fight. And that's my whole beef with pay-per-views. Certain people, the public needs to see more fights. Like, there's no way that people are going to buy, especially in the times that we're in. People are just not going to pay for that many fights. And I understand that it's going to come out of pocket for some of these fighters, to not be able to get the pay-per-views and get the live gate. And I understand it's going to hurt their pockets a little bit. If their promoters is able to still pay them the same amount, if they can figure out a way to still pay them, that would be great. I know, Lomachenko and both him and Teo are getting paid pretty good amount of money. I think Teo's getting like 1.5 million. Loma's getting like 3 million, maybe somewhere around that. I don't know the exact numbers, but look, I think that because of what's going on, it's time for the boxers to really give back. And I know they don't want to do that. I know they're going in there and they're fighting for their lives and everything, but we have to keep the sport going. Okay. I got you blocked. I don't know why I have you blocked. If I have you blocked, it might be because maybe you said something in the comments. I don't know. But let's get back to what we're talking about. Look, I've been reading the comments. And I actually see that a lot of people have Teofimo Lopez winning, a lot more people than I expected. I know I did a video maybe a couple of months back when the fight was official, like maybe about 6 weeks ago, I did a video. And I basically was trying to make a point that Teofimo Lopez has a good chance of winning this fight. Not only did I say that, but I also said that Teo is the most dangerous for Lomachenko at 135 currently. That's my opinion. I can't prove that. Obviously didn't fight yet. There's a lot of people that Loma hasn't fought yet. He hasn't fought Tank. He hasn't fought Devin Haney. There's a lot of people that, some fights out there that we still haven't seen. But as far as everyone there right now, stylistically, I believe that Teo has the best chance. All right. He hasn't a huge puncher's chance of winning this fight. And I see that people are looking at, a lot of people didn't like the video too much. A lot of people were responding and replying with, well, this is Teo's biggest test too. And I'm like, well, that's stating the obvious here. We know Teo don't have a real decorated resume right now. I was looking for fights for Teo and him fighting a southpaw. And what did I find? I find Diego Magdaleno. That's pretty much it. If you want to watch Teo and you want to see him fight a southpaw, that's probably the best southpaw that he has faced up to this point. And that's all you're really gonna get. But Teo has weapons. He definitely has weapons. He's not just a puncher. He can box and he can counter extremely well. He can attack the body well. And he's bigger. This guy is barely making it at 135. He's going to be at 140 at some point. All right. I think we need to take all of that into account here. He does have a chance of winning this fight. And Loma obviously is a better talent overall. Obviously, listen, I'm not even trying to debate that. What Loma can do is special. He's a special fighter. But at the same time, special fighters lose too. And I think if anyone is going to beat Loma at 135, I think it'll be Teo. I think he has the best shot. I even brought up the triangle effect here. I think Devin Haney would beat Teo. But Devin Haney fights completely different from Loma. But I don't think Devin Haney could beat Loma. I think Teo has a good chance of beating Loma. But that's all opinion. That's just what I see. All right, so listen, it's fight week for that. Expect more videos from me talking about that fight. All right, let me read some of the comments here. Let me check what you guys are talking before I move to the next topic. This is a huge fight to be on ESPN for free. It's really surprising, but I can also see that ESPN wants to be a big player in boxing broadcasting. I have compared ESPN Plus to DAZN and prefer ESPN Plus. Well, I definitely prefer the commentary of ESPN Plus over DAZN. Tim gets on my nerves sometime, but I think him and Andre Ward beating up there, I preferred them over the DAZN commentary with us. I think who's doing a commentary for Sergio Mora. So I prefer ESPN, and I think ESPN right now, since the pandemic, I think they've been doing the best job since the pandemic with putting on fights and keeping it going. It might not be getting the biggest buzz, but showing the fights, and I think they've just been more consistent. They got to jump on it, with Shakur Stevenson earlier this summer. And I think they've been doing a good job. Big name fighters need to fight on basic cable more. Yes, I agree. And you know what? That is what I originally thought the PBC was going to be. Do you guys remember when the PBC was starting out and there was a rumor going around that Floyd Mayweather was going to fight Andre Berto on national television? Now, we didn't get that. Floyd ended up, beating Manny Pacquiao. He fought Berto, and that ended up being a pay-per-view. But that would have been great. But the kind of money Floyd wants, they're not going to be able to pay him to fight on national television, But we need to get more pay. I think the PBC in the beginning, they were doing it with some Keith Thurman fights, Sean Porter, Adrian Broner, Danny Garcia. A lot of those fights were being broadcasted on TV, but the fighters want too much money. And listen, again, I understand the fighters want to get paid. They're risking their lives doing what they got to do. But because the sport is hurting right now, the sport is hurting. And, we have a pandemic and Pretty much every sport is hurting right now. The views are not up there. In order to get the momentum back, you can't come out just throwing out pay-per-views. It's not going to work. You know, this is the time, I feel like this is the time where the fighters got to get, the big name fighters I'm talking about, they got to give back to the sport. You know, this is all about the sport and keeping it going. And you need to bring people, viewers, back in. You got to bring them back in. You got to draw them back in. And if you start throwing them on national television for the world to see without having to pay for it, it'll bring the momentum back and then start paying for it, you know? But that's just one opinion, you know? That's just mine. And I don't think that's going to happen. You know, you notice that a lot of fighters or a lot of fights that are scheduled keep getting rescheduled for later and later in the year because they want to be able to have a live gate. So they're trying to generate money as much, you know, in many ways as possible. You know, but you know, we'll see. We'll see. Let me read some of the comments before I go back to going back to topic here. All right. Big name fighters leader. All right, I read that. He's too big, fast, powerful for this version of Loma. If he could execute Loma is going, he left it at that. Saludo to you, BoxingWave. I got Ruben Villa winning by UD. He's from my hometown. That's what's up. Yo, it's a good fight. I got Navarrete winning by a late stoppage, but I have Villa winning some of the earlier rounds. I think Navarrete is going to put the pressure on later, midway through the fight. And I think I'm predicting a late stoppage for Navarrete. What up, BoxingWave, LDBC, salute, chat and family. What's up, D Hodges? What's going on, bro? I still believe Loma is going to take it, but I can see why people pick Teo. Yeah, I'm probably going to lean, you know, I'll give my final prediction, but I'm probably going to still lean towards Loma because I normally prefer skills over power. But I'm not sure. I'm gonna have all week to think about it. Teo versus Loma is 50-50 in my book. Either Loma ridicules Teo or Teo stops Loma. And that is going to be my final. That's going to be my final. That's going to be my breakdown in a nutshell. Teo by stoppage or Loma by decision. Those are the two options. And I also do believe that this is a 50-50. It's a 50-50 between, you know, one pound for pound fighter for free. No pay-per-view. Great fight. I don't think Lopez has the footwork to win the fight. Footwork is key to a great fighter. I think Lopez's footwork is decent. I don't think it's bad. I worry more about Lopez's endurance. How long can he keep fighting at a high level? He's only went to 12 rounds once, and he didn't look good in that fight. So I'm more concerned about endurance more than anything. I think Teo keeps talking knockout, early knockout, 3 rounds, 5 rounds. I don't know, whatever he's saying. He's not going in there to try to win by decision. I don't think that's going to work for him. I think he's going in there to get a knockout. I think he's trying to land that same right hand that I showed. I showed you guys a short clip. If you follow me on Instagram, I think he's trying to counter with that right hand and knock out Lopez, similar to the way Jorge Linares dropped him and other shots landed in that fight as well. Odds are in Loma's. You picking Teo over Loma? No, I'm not picking Teo over Loma. I'm saying Teo has the best shot at being Loma at 135. Odds are in Loma's favor, at least according to the booklets, as it should be. Loma should be the favorite for this fight. Absolutely. Ryan versus Campbell is official. I spoke about it a little bit earlier in this video, and I'm going to speak about it later in this video. All right. They at least need to drop a pay-per-view price. I agree. Another great point. At least until things get going. At least until we get the sport popping again. At least lower it. If you're gonna do it, we can't keep having consecutive $80 pay-per-views. We gotta drop that thing. We gotta drop it. You know? And I think that's probably the best option. You know? If you're not gonna do it for free, at least drop it. Because we gotta get people to watch it. Fans do complain. I hear it all the time. Fans complain. Like, how much money? People don't even have the money right now. You know? A lot of people are out of work. A lot of people are out of business. You know? All these bars that were showing these fights, a lot of them never opened back up here in America. You know, I'm here in New York. A lot of these places never opened business because of the pandemic. They didn't survive the pandemic, you know, and people are not going out to watch fights right now. So you're telling them they got to order it at home? It's not going to work. Yeah, I thought PBC was taking it back to the days. Yeah, they were taking it back to the days, but it seems like it was all promo. You know, it was getting people good. It was good. That first year was great, man. That first year or two was great. But they got to get back to that. But I understand it's politics involved. So I understand it's probably a lot deeper than what I'm saying, you know, because Fox and these networks want the views. They want the views. So I get it. If the views are just not performing and, you know, they got to do what they got to do. But it did bring more fans into the sport. It definitely bring. I mean, I've been on YouTube a long time, and I can tell you on YouTube, it's a lot more. Boxing is a lot more popular than it ever was. You know, 2013, 2014, YouTube boxing community was a very, very small community. You didn't get a lot of views on videos. It just was very, very small. You know, guys, the big players, the guys that's like 50,000, plus subscribers now. The big players, the big wigs. I remember when they only had 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 subscribers. You know, the community is huge, and it's brought new channels on which are able to get extra subscribers very, very quickly. Back then, you had to work very, really hard and be consistent. So anyway, all right, so let's move on. Let's move on. Let's talk about, this is a little off topic. I already addressed this, but I wanted to speak a little bit more on Canelo and the rest of the guys at 160. Okay. I've seen some comments by Leonard Ellerby about Jamal Charlo, who is my guy. I love the Charlo twins. All right. I love Demetrius Andre. I love Daniel Jacobs. That's my guy. All right. And I'm a fan of Canelo. Big fan as him as a fighter. Big fan. But I seen comments of Leonard Ellerby basically saying that Jamal is being ducked by Canelo. Now, I don't know whether or not Canelo is ducking Jamal. I don't believe so. I don't think the caliber of fighters that Canelo has faced doesn't make me feel that he would be ducking Jamal. And that's no disrespect to Jamal. It's just that Canelo has fought some really, really good fighters that I thought, some of them that I didn't think he would face. But I was watching, it's out of boredom. Last night I was watching Shane Mosley against De La Hoya. Some of you guys saw my post on that. Just totally random. So after I watched that fight, I started watching some of Canelo and Jacobs. Totally random. Just random. Those two were fighting as such, and a lot of people didn't like that fight. Those two were fighting in such a high level in that fight from a technical standpoint. Very, very technical fight. And Jamal, he did his thing against Sergey Deverenchenko. I am not taking anything from him. All right. We already know that Jacobs beat Sergey. All right. Gave him his first loss. He already beat him. I think if Canelo fought Deverenchenko that night, he would have stopped Deverenchenko without a doubt. And I don't think it would have been long. I'm talking like within 6. I think Canelo, when I watch him fight Jacobs, and when I watch him fight guys like Kovalev and other fighters, Triple G in a rematch, even though I think I still gave Triple G the edge, barely, but that was a debatable fight, the rematch at least. Not the first one, the rematch. I think Canelo probably comes forward better than any other opponent in this sport right now. I think he does it better. I think he does better than anybody else right now. As far as coming forward and walking your opponent, I think Canelo does it better than anybody. Because when there's guys that is able to adjust and fight on their back foot like a Canelo and like many other fighters, even Daniel Jacobs. When Canelo does it and he's walking you down, the kind of defense he still displays is very, very high level, man. Even against bigger opponents. Very, very, like you really got to watch what Canelo does. I get why people don't like him. I don't like some of the judges' decisions on his fights. Okay. I know he's kind of like a diva when it comes to negotiating and all this stuff with the zone right. I get why people don't like Canelo, plus the whole tainted meat situation. But I'm not going to get into that. But if you're if we're just keeping it as far as what's happening in the ring, bro, that dude is really good. He's no joke. Like, you got to give him his props. That dude could fight. And Jamal performance against Deverenchenko, that was a very good performance for a guy you stepped up in the fight at 160. But Canelo coming towards you is different than Deverenchenko coming towards you. It's a whole different game. Canelo, more durable than Deverenchenko, okay? His face is not going to blow up like the way Deverenchenko's face when you hit him, if you hit him. Canelo's going to be coming in, slipping shots, and attacking your body. He's not going to be throwing all these combinations like Deverenchenko. He's going to hit you once. He's going to slip and hook you so hard that you're going to back off. You're not going to be able to trade like the way Jamal was doing with Deverenchenko. See, the thing with Jamal, even though I felt like Deverenchenko was doing better on the inside, and I respected Jamal on the way he was fighting on his inside, because I didn't even think Jamal would sit in the pocket as long as he did against Sergey. Sergey only won rounds against Jamal where Jamal sat in the pocket with him. But Jamal was still able to hold his own, and I respect that. But he's not on a level as a Canelo. It's two different, completely different levels. Now, on the outside, Jamal's best weapon and his key to that fight, if they were to ever fight, is his jab. Without a doubt. His jab is on point. His right hand is on point. He has a great 1-2. All right. And that uppercut that Jamal has is the timing on that is on point. Give it to him. But as I watch a Daniel Jacobs and a Canelo Alvarez, and when I watch those two fight, I see a lot more. And I'm not saying Jamal can't do it, because I believe that Jamal fights on the level of his opponents. So what I'm saying is, as Jamal, he's going to look better against better opposition. So I'm not saying he can't fight on their level, but what I'm saying is I haven't seen it yet. Even with that Deverenchenko fight, even with the J-Rock win, even with the Austin Trout win, I have not seen Jamal fight on their level yet. And the same with Demetrius Andre. Same thing. Andre, another really, really good fighter. And you know what? I have Jamal over Andre now. I was always unsure between the two, but I have Jamal over Andre right now. I think Jamal has definitely proven with that fight that even though I think Andre is rough, aggressive, he's trying to stop you. He's not playing around. And that's what I love about Andre. But he gets a little too wild. He opens up a little too much. And I feel like if Jamal was to counter him like the way that he did J-Rock, I don't know how Andre's going to take it. Because I haven't seen his chin get tested yet. And if he fights wild like that against Jamal, he might go to sleep if he doesn't have a chin. But we don't know if he had a chin because he's never fought a dangerous puncher that box well. He's never fought one. All right, Andre and Jamal. Jamal is a little ahead to me, only because I've seen what he's done against better fighters, both at 154 and at 160 now. So Andre got a little catching up to do. I still want to see all of the fights. And I'm not that guy that feels like, well, Andre got to fight somebody good to prove something against Canelo. Listen, Canelo doesn't always fight the best people. But I would love to see all those fights. But right now, I have Jamal over Andre by a little bit. I have him over Andre. They need to fight each other. They need to. And stop playing around and waiting for Canelo. But we'll see. All right. So look, let's end this with King Rye. Let's end this with King Rye against Luke Campbell. Now, as I said earlier in this video, I like the fight. It's a very huge test for King Ryan Garcia. But I think it's too soon. Now, if he is able to win this fight, huge props. If he is to win this fight, I actually would rate him over Devin Haney because of the level of opposition here. All right. But I think it's too quick of a jump, in my opinion. Because Ryan hasn't fought anyone like Luke. I'm still trying to, out of all of the fighters, guys like Teo, Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, I feel up to this point, I feel like Ryan has shown me the least. I'm not saying that he's the least talented. I'm saying that he hasn't shown me enough yet. I just don't know. And I've seen him in fights where he didn't look good. Okay? Like he really struggled. I just don't know. I want to know more about him. We're going to learn a lot about him in this Luke Campbell fight. But out of the people that he could step up against, I think Luke is probably one of the worst. I was never a fan of him fighting Jorge Linares. I didn't like that neither. I think Javier Fortuna would have been a better step up, in my opinion. I think that Ivan Mendy would have been a better step up. Going straight to Luke Campbell, I think that's a little too far. Luke is tall, he's rangy, got long arms, and he moves extremely well. I have Luke Campbell winning that fight. I have him winning that fight right now. Ryan has a puncher's chance, but he needs a little bit more than that. I think this is too big of a jump, in my opinion. I love the fight, and I give him respect for moving up, and now he's putting himself, if he is to win this fight, he is now putting himself in the mix of those top 5 guys. But if he loses and it's not as competitive that we think it's going to be, he will have to come back down, take a step back, because I see him as a prospect right now. I don't even see him as a contender. I see Devin and Teo as contenders. Well, Teo's a champion now, but I don't. Well, both are champions, but I see Ryan as a prospect contender somewhere around there. But Luke is a championship level type of fighter. You know? Now I know he lost. You know, I know he eventually lost against Mindy, but he lost to Linares and he lost to Lomachenko, you know, but he had a good fight. He put up a good fight against Lomachenko. You know? So did Linares. Linares put a very good fight up against Lomachenko for the amount of time that it lasted. But I think this is too big of a jump. You know, too big of a jump. And I have Luke winning right now. All right, so let me read some of the comments. Let me go through some of the comments you guys left me. Appreciate for everyone that's tuning in today. All right. Let me see what other topics that I wanted to bring up today. I am going to be doing some separate videos. So, you know, just because whatever I didn't speak on here, just, you know, be on the lookout because more videos are on the way. Oh, that's the last thing I want to speak on. Let me catch up with some of the comments. I do have one more topic. I do want to speak a little bit on Leo Santa Cruz and Tank Davis. Canelo's defense is the best in the game, too. Facts. Devin's a tough mofo, and he's a good chin. Absolutely. Canelo's pound for pound #1. I think he is. I think he is. I have him as pound for pound #1, in my opinion. You know, if you're not including Manny Pacquiao, you know, because I don't know where you want to put Manny at. I mean, obviously he's still actively boxing, and he does hold a title right now. So I mean, obviously Canelo doesn't have his resume, but you know, if you're not including Manny Pacquiao, I would put Canelo. You know, I love Bud. You know, Bud is probably my favorite fighter. But I wouldn't put him over Canelo or Lomachenko. Kovalev too slow stylistically. I knew Canelo would beat him. Kovalev can only fight one way coming forward. I wouldn't say that, but yeah, he's most effective coming forward. I mean, he can hold his own on his back foot, but he was the crusher when he was coming forward, you know? Any fighter relying on a jab loses Canelo. Charlo is a tailor-made fight. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily just say that he relied on the jab because Triple G relied on his jab, you know, and I think he won the first fight, and I think the second fight was debatable. Charlo will miss 90% of punches he throws. Yeah, Charlo will have a hard time landing against Canelo, especially as smooth, as crisp, as clean as he normally lands, you know. Canelo has never faced someone as good as a jab as Charlo besides Triple G, and Triple G gave Canelo a run for his money. Good point. This is why I brought up his jab. Great jab. I would pick Canelo to win that fight, though. But I want to see that fight. I'm not saying that Charlo isn't ready. It's just that I don't want... What we have to eliminate as fans is the extremes. Okay? Let's not make it seem like Canelo's and like under some table hiding out of fear whenever Jamal steps into the room. Let's stop doing that. You know, once upon a time, I thought Canelo was ducking Lara. You know, and even though I think Lara won the fight, Canelo fought him. You know? The Canelo fight still has me scratching my head. I just don't, I mean the Canelo Kovalev fight. Yeah, listen, and I understand it had me scratching my head a little bit too. I thought it was a little weird. But I also believe that Kovalev, that fight with Yard took a lot out of him too. And it was pretty close since that fight. Coming down in the weight, being drained. It's possible that, you know, Kovalev just wasn't at his best. I mean, he's already past it a little bit. You know, he is a little past it. The Alvarez loss, the Yard fight, the Ward loss. He is a little passive. He was a little passive. All right. So it was good timing. Yeah. Relying on your jab. Canelo was slipping counter. Yeah. Listen, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. It's still a good fight. I'm leaning towards Canelo in that fight. Cloven Golovkin, Triple G's jab is at least as good as Charlo's. Yes, absolutely. You know, Kovalev and Golovkin have better jabs than Jamal. I'm not going to argue that. I'm not going to argue that at all. He's going to get caught with an uppercut the way he fights. Who, Canelo? I'm not sure who you're talking about, but Andre is one of the best defensive fighters in the sport, and his IQ is way higher. Andre will beat him. Korobov. I wouldn't say he's one of the best defensive fighters, you know, but he does have a high boxing IQ. It's just that we need to see that IQ against another boxer with a high IQ. That's what we need to see, and we haven't seen it. Beating guys like Luke Keeler, Selecki was a good win. It was his best win at 160, but we need to see more. You got King Ryan 6. Okay. King Ryan 6. Listen, if Ryan Garcia is able to knock out Luke Campbell, yo, that is a big win. That would be a big win. Now we can talk about him seriously. If he is able to stock Luke, because Loma wasn't able to do it. Linares wasn't able to do it. All right. That would be big. Ryan has a puncher's chance. I think Ryan would need a stoppage in order to win on points. Yeah. Jamal dropped 2 opponents with the jab. Pretty much finished J-Rock. Yeah, J-Rock was hurt by that first jab. That's how he got dropped, and he was hurt. But J-Rock does not have the best chin. Do I ever cover Jerron Boots? Man, I owe you guys a video on Jerron Boots. And it's I was supposed to do a video talking about him and Virgil Ortiz Jr. I promise you I'll give you that video within the next couple of days. I got you, bro. Sorry for keeping you on the wait. I have talked about Boots in videos, but I haven't made a video solely dedicated to him. All right. So I'll do better with that. Sorry about the wait. Kovalev stopped Yard with his jab. Yes, Kovalev did stop him, but it was a lot of accumulation of punishment and exhaustion as well. Yard was done. All right. Yeah, if Ryan wins, he's up there. I agree. Tank has a leaf. Mayweather promotes it if he want to be a legend. This whole idea of waiting for Loma to get old will not serve him right. Also, he looks horrible against Campbell. I wouldn't say he looked horrible, but I wasn't impressed. All right. For Mayweather, #1 pound for pound. Floyd is not an active fighter right now. That's why I did not include him. Even if he comes back and fight a Logan Paul, it doesn't mean that he's actively fighting. He's not raked at all. Danny Jacobs can beat Charlo, in my opinion. Yo, Danny Jacobs is more proven than Charlo. So I would never argue that. And I would love to see that fight. And we deserve that fight. And we deserve the Android fight. No, the defensive statistics is cool. I get what you're saying, Fresh. I feel you. But I'm talking about fighting at a higher level, though. We need to get a higher level Android fight. That's what I mean. Defensively, yes, it's easier to look that good when you're not fighting the very, very best or even close to that. You know, Selecki is solid. He's solid. He's the best fighter he's fought at 160. We need to get better than that, though, you know, for us to really know how good he is. Campbell was injured. Yes, he was. Inoue against Casemiro. I have Inoue winning the fight, but I wouldn't be surprised if Casemiro was able to sneak something in there and hurt him and knock him out. All right, but I have Inoue winning here. Inoue is just a far better boxing technician between the two. All right, now look, let's talk about Gervonta Tank Davis, Leo Santa Cruz. It's going to be a pay-per-view. I'm not a fan of that fight being a pay-per-view, but that's their business. Look, I like Tank a lot. I really do. But I am not a fan of him fighting continuous fighting these guys that's moving up from 126 to 130. I know that Leo's a champion at 130. All right. But he had one fight against Miguel Flores. He picked up an easy title there. And that's all he has. Tank moved up to 135 already. And struggled making weight there. We need a real 135 fight. You know, King Ryan is fighting Luke Campbell. Why is King Ryan fighting someone better at the division already than Tank? I have an issue with that. All right, Tank, once he beat Jose Pedraza, I don't know what happened. Just fight a whole bunch of blown up guys at 126. That's all we kept getting. I'm not feeling that. You know what I'm saying? It's just, nah. Tank is good. He looks great. But, yo, what's up? Now, Leo, you know, I seen him talking about this being a pound-for-pound fight, the winner of this fight. I think if Leo were to win the fight, this, I would say a 3-division champion, never unified, though. But if he is to be a 3-division world champion on top of giving Tank Davis, the guy that's moving down from 135 to fight him, I think Leo could be at the back of that list. I wouldn't argue that. He gave Carl Frampton his first loss. You know, he beat Abner Morris twice. So, I'm not going to hate on Leo. It's a step up for Leo. It's a step down for Tank. That's what I'm saying. This fight for Tank doesn't do much for Tank. It does a lot for Leo if Leo wins. Leo wins, I think Leo will be a 5-division champion. Yo, I got to look that up. Somebody look that up for me. Let's look that up right now. Because I know Leo fought at 118, but I don't know if he won a title there. That's something I don't know. So if we can actually fact check that real quick and see whether or not okay, let's go down. I'm looking at him at 118. Yeah. I don't see a title fight here. Not until I see him winning an interim title down there. Okay, I see him winning he did win a vacant. Yes. So this will be his 4th division. Wow. So he had one at 118. All right. He had one at 118. He had one at 122. He had one at 126. And now he has one at 130. Very, very impressive. Very impressive. Yeah, very impressive, guys. Thanks for bringing that up. All right, because I don't want to put out the false information out there. Very, very impressive. Very impressive for Leo. You know, I got to give him more credit for doing that. If he is to beat Tank Davis on top of having 4 titles, that would be big. That would be big. I think we would have to really start talking about him being, if we're not already. Now, you know what? I didn't know that. I didn't know he had that many. I knew he had 3. But he's still never unified. I want to see a unification. You know, I mean, he did his thing at 126 for real. You know, I mean, he fought some really. I think that was his best years. 122, he didn't unify. You know, Carl was a champ down there. Guillermo Rigondeaux, who really wanted to fight, he didn't fight him down there. You know, but very impressive to have titles of 4 divisions, man. You know, I mean, that's still great. That's still great. But I don't think, you know, listen, yeah, if Tank finished Leo in spectacular fashion, I think it does good for him. But I agree, for Leo, it would be a bigger win. Absolutely. Tank making him pound for pound automatically for that, I don't think so. I don't think so. If Teofimo Lopez knocks out Lomachenko next week, that is much bigger. And this is just with him being a champion in 1 division. That would be a much bigger win than Tank knocking out a Leo Santa Cruz. You don't go down in weight and win a fight just to become pound for pound. It doesn't work that way. The pound for pound, I don't do pound for pound videos, but it just doesn't go by, well, I like what I see from him. You need more than that. You know, you need more of that. Like, Tank looks very, very good. And he looks like he has potential. He looks like he has pound for pound talent. But I'm basing that off of who he's currently facing, which is really not that great. That's not the best of the best. Yeah, Teofimo Lopez would be pound for pound. I won't put him number 1. I won't even put him on the top 5, but he's in the top 10 for sure. Somewhere in there, you know. Teofimo Lopez knocks out Lomachenko. We're going to be talking about him a lot. Believe that. You know? I believe that Linares was the only one that has ever put Lomachenko off the feet, amateur or pro. Yeah, listen. Told you guys this, you know, a few weeks back. Like, yo, watch that fight. It's not just that knockdown. Those right hands, they landed. They landed. And if Teo is to land that same shot, Loma's going to have an issue. You know, Loma's going to have an issue. See, the thing is with Loma, he is good at keeping himself off the line. So how is Teo going to be able to deal with that? Especially if Loma's coming forward, all right? He's going to be bringing the pressure. He's going to be stepping around Teo. Now, Teo don't have the greatest feet, but he has better feet than a Nicholas Walters did. You remember when Loma was stepping around Nicholas Walters, and Walters' feet is just so cement planted to the ground that he would just be stuck. You know, he wouldn't know what to do. Teo is not that flat-footed. He can move. He could pivot pretty well. He's not on Loma's level, but he'll be able to handle himself on his feet. But Loma's going to be hard to land that right hand because of the way he slips shots, all right? And the way he keeps himself off the line. I think it should be good. But if Loma slips up and he's working, he's putting in a little too much work, if he overdoes himself, he could get caught slipping with a right hand and go to sleep. And if Team Teo is banking on that. They're not banking on out punching and outlanding Lomachenko. That's just too unrealistic. You know what I'm saying? They're banking on catching him slipping with that right hand and him going to sleep. You know? Lopez's footwork and hand speed is not as good as Linares. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. All right. But they fight two different ways. And Teo's right hand is different. You know, his pull counter is different. You know, he shoulder rolls. He has that Philly shell defense. It's a different style. It depends on what works for Lomachenko that night. All right. So we can't basically just judge it on speed and footwork. There's more to it. The problem is with Teo is his endurance and the fact that you might have to go into deep waters with Lomachenko. How are you going to be at round 8 if it gets there? How are you going to be at that point? We know what Lomachenko does. He fights at a high level all the way up to those 12 rounds, you know. But we'll see, you know, we'll see what's going on. Let me read some of the comments here. How would I catch Leo Santa Cruz or Tank at a bar? I don't know. I gotta see when the fight is. Hopefully, if I'm home, I'm gonna cover the fight. I'm gonna cover the fight regardless because it's my duty to do it. So if I am home, I will cover the fight. You know, same thing with Spence, and Garcia, which I think is a better fight. You know, I'm not crazy fan of it being a pay-per-view, but it's not a bad fight at all. I don't have a problem with the actual fight. It's more about it being a pay-per-view, you know? But yeah, I'm not a fan of the Tank and Leo fight at all, at it being pay-per-view. But I'll see how I feel that night. You know, I don't want to, I will watch the fight. Let's say that. The fight will be on. Let me just say that. All right. But yeah, I don't know. I can't tell you if I'm going to cover it. But if I do cover it, I'll let you guys know if I cover that fight and do commentary. Okay, what else we got here? Tank doesn't want the toughest fights. I don't believe so. But maybe he does. Maybe his handlers don't want him to have the toughest fight right now. Teo better do New York proud. Yeah, and you know what? There is a little bias there. Even though as much of a fan as Lomachenko that I am, there is some bias there. You know, Teo's from Brooklyn. You know, I'm not from Brooklyn, but he's a New York fighter. And I do like him. And, you know, I kind of want him to win. I do kind of want him to win. I'll be honest. I do like the fact that he's the underdog. And I do like picking underdogs a lot too. But I want Teo to win because he's young and it's a good opportunity for him. And if Loma loses a fight, it's not going to change how I feel about Lomachenko. You know, I just think that Teo has the best shot at beating him out of everybody else. If Ryan knocks out Campbell, it would be bigger than Tank KO and Leo. Again, a great example. Another great example. I agree with you 100%. There's other fights that we can name here that are bigger wins. I think Teofimo Lopez knocking out Richard Comey was a bigger win. He won the title. He knocked out a current champion. Right now, this guy is a champion at 135. You in 135. You are stepping up to fight the champion. You knock him out in 2 rounds. I respect that completely. Tank going down to fight with a guy that is just moving up. It's like it really doesn't do much for you. Now, if you're just a fan of, if you are just a fan of Gervonta Tank Davis and you just support any fight he's in, then that's cool. There's nothing wrong with supporting him. I'm speaking about the importance and the fight itself. You are moving down against a guy that just moved up and picked up a belt. He picked up an easy title. He didn't fight. Leo didn't go up to 130 and fought any killers. He didn't go up there and fight the killers. He went up there and fought someone that it was easy to win the title. Let's not act like there's no easier titles to win out there. There are. This is why I stress unification, undisputed, or the World Boxing Super Series tournament. You win tournaments, you unify, you become undisputed, you clear out the division, we respect it. But when you just pick up a title real quick, doesn't Adrian Broner got like 4 titles? Adrian Broner got like 4 titles. Has he ever unified? No. Every time he fought the best fighters, he lost the fights. And he got some debatables. So I don't want Tank to end up being the next Broner, you know? Imagine if Loma can take that right hand. Well, listen, if Loma can take that right hand and more than once, Teo's really in trouble because that's Teo's bread and butter, in my opinion. You know? Loma showed against Alarms he could take a punch and finish, but Teo is more dangerous. Well, Teo's a bigger puncher. You know, those knockout reels were, and I know these weren't the very, very best at 135. I get it. But those punches, those knockouts, you know, not everybody hits like that. Teofimo has been alluding to having more skills than he has shown. I think he's going to box more people than expect. That's another thing. That's a good point. That's a good point. What if he's one of these fighters that fights as well? He fights on the levels of his opponent. I mean, he's only, what, 21, 22? He's improving with every fight. What if he's better than what we see? What if he's only displayed what he needed to show us? It's a good fight, man. It's a good fight. It's a good fight. It's a good fight. Now, if Teo get his ass whooped, I'm giving Lomachenko all the credit he deserves because this is a real fight. These are good fights that Lomachenko are getting into. I like these fights. I like Linares. I like Luke Campbell. You know, I like Gary Russell at the time. You know, I like Nicholas Walters. He's fought some good fighters. Everybody brings up, you know, Guillermo Rigondeaux fight was a mismatch. It was a mismatch. It doesn't matter how good Rigondeaux is. This guy is he's a flea compared to Lomachenko. And the Styles was not a good match either. That was a terrible matchup. Lomachenko got better wins in that shit. Let's not just keep keeping him on that, you know? All right, let's see. I think Tank has a better shot to win, but I think Teofimo would beat Tank. I don't know. I'm staying quiet on that one. I want to see what Teofimo Lopez do in this Lomachenko fight. But I think Teo has a better chance of beating Loma than Tank does. A lot of people think Tank can beat Loma, by the way. I still get a lot of comments on that. Tank and Leo fight my suck monkey balls. Yeah, I feel you. I'm not excited for that fight. Just that's just me. What if Teo loses embarrassingly? He loses embarrassingly. Listen, look, and I'm gonna make this last point. I would not be surprised if Lomachenko swept this kid. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he just smoked him all the way through. All the way through. I would not be surprised at all. Because I'm not expecting Teo to win more rounds. I'm expecting for Teo to win by knockout. So if Loma actually performs against Teo better than he did against Luke, better than he did against Linares, I would not be surprised. There's so much you can pull from this fight here. There's so many different outcomes here. And this is why I love this fight. And it's not a pay-per-view. ESPN next week. Tune in. Do not miss this fight. Teofimo quitting in his stool for this one. If his endurance is not good, that's another possibility. Can't wait to do a video on this fight. I'm gonna do a full breakdown this week, probably within the next few days or so. All right, but there's more I want to discuss about the fight too. I don't want to talk about everything here because there is a lot that I do want to discuss. I think Teofimo got too much pride to quit. He would never be able to live that down. I don't know, man. You know why? Because Loma has made a lot of people quit. And, yo, it's just frustration, man, with him. It's one thing when you're just getting beat up and you can't even see the punches coming. But the thing with Loma is that the longer he faces, the more people see flaws in his game as well. He's not invincible. He's not. He's a very good fighter. He's spectacular. But the more people that face Lomachenko, the older he gets and the more flaws we see. All right? He had some issues with Luke Campbell. He won clearly, but he struggled a little bit in that fight. He struggled a little bit in a Linares fight. All right? He even struggled, and I know he was coming off surgery. He struggled a little bit in a Pedraza fight. It happens. As long as you keep winning, that's all that matters. But more and more holes are going to keep getting. People are going to keep watching and figuring out how to beat you. Compare this to URL battle, chess versus saber. You know, I started, you know what's funny? You bring that up because at one point of my YouTube boxing career, I thought about making videos on battle rap because I'm a battle rap fan. You know, I'm a fan of so many other things outside of this sport that have a much bigger following than boxing. But I don't have time to cover so many things, you know, even with boxing, it's tough. Boxing alone is tough. This is why in the early years of my channel, I used to cover UFC too, but I had to just keep it straight boxing because it's just too much. Because you got to understand, as opposed, and this is not a diss to no other channel, I'm not dissing channels, but I actually take a lot of time watching film and video and studying the sport before I make my videos. Because I don't want to come on here and be like, yeah, what's that name? What's that guy? That dude, that black dude he fought like 2 fights ago. Or I don't remember. I see him fight some dude. I don't want to be one of those dudes on YouTube. You know, they don't know the times, the dates, the opponents. They don't know anything. They just know one thing and one thing only. The fight. They don't do breakdowns. They talk about social issues. There's a lot of channels that don't really cover. They don't break down anything. They talk about what's going on outside of sport. You know, relationships that they, you know, them getting arrested, what club, who they got beef with. I'm not. No. It takes a lot of time to do these videos because you have to study. You got to watch fights over and over and over and over and over, you know. Some people are great. They can break it down. They can watch the fight and break it down right there. Me, I like to watch, you know, fights more than once, go back to it. You know, maybe I noticed something here that I didn't notice before. Sometimes I'll watch a fight just to look at the fighter's feet, just to see what their feet is doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it takes time to really, really, really study these fighters. You know, and Lomachenko is one of those dudes where you're watching him and you're trying to find flaws, and you think you might see a flaw there, but when he fights, Project Jam, appreciate it, bro. When he fights, the actual opponent, it's harder to expose the flaws you think they have. You know, it's different when you're actually in there. And that's what I was trying to make about you. That point I was making about Jamal Charlo. I'm like, yo, Charlo is really good. He really is. But it looks easier when you're not in there. But when Canelo fights you now, he is walking these guys down, like, and he's really comfortable with it. He is walking them down. He is slipping and countering with hard shots, you know, and making you miss at the same time. That kid has grown a whole lot in the sport. From me watching him fight Floyd, from watching him fight Jose Cotto when he was hurt, you know, him watching Shane Mosley, or fighting Shane Mosley, him fighting Austin Trout. He was not nearly on that level, the level he is right now. So yeah, you gotta, it's not just about making the videos. You know what I mean? Videos like Virgil Ortiz, Boots. I said I was gonna make a video last week about him. I was watching video, trying to study, trying to compare the two. And I'm like, there's a difference. And there's one big difference between the two. As good as they both look, one fought way better fighters already. Like Virgil Ortiz got about 5 bodies on his resume that are better than the first best guy that Boots beat. So it's like, they both look extremely talented, but look at what I'm comparing it to. I'm forced to compare these two. You know what I'm saying? I'm a Canelo fan. Absolutely, I'm a Canelo fan. I'm a Canelo fan in the ring. I'm not much of a fan of the politics when it comes to Canelo. No, I am not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of the judges in some of his fights in the past, but I appreciate his talent. All right. You know, I appreciate his boxing IQ. He is very, very fun to watch. I love watching Canelo. He's a very, very talented boxer. And I love and I admire his growth as a boxer. Everything else outside of the ring, all that shit is personal shit that I may not like. But that has nothing to do with him and his skills. All right, so look, I'm gonna close it out. Thanks for everybody for tuning in today. All right, just wanted to do a quick live chat with y'all. Make sure you guys like the video. If you guys haven't liked it already, make sure you hit that like. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed. Make sure you also hit me on all social media platforms. Hit me up on Instagram, BoxingWave Official. Hit me up on Twitter. I've been a little bit more active with both now. Hit me up on both Twitter, Instagram, BoxingWave Official. And I'll see you guys on the next video. All right. Peace.